As the world's largest democracy and one of the fastest growing economies on Earth, India stands poised for a dramatic revolution that will place it as a key global power. With a population of 1.3 billion, India faces significant challenges in the fields of economic growth, infrastructure, and equality. But with this adversity comes extraordinary opportunities for innovation. In this video, I will focus mainly upon the economic empowerment of women in the field of business. My key question is, what are businesses and governments doing to empower Indian women, and what obstacles still stand in their way? On this trip, we visited Bangalore and Pune, two major tech hubs within India. Let's begin with the topic of entrepreneurship. One of the first places we visited was NASSCOM, a major startup incubator in the heart of Bangalore. NASSCOM connects entrepreneurs with resources such as funding, capital, and mentorship in order for their startup to thrive. We spoke to the CEOs of 3 different startups in the fields of healthcare, banking, and vehicular technology. I will focus on one in particular, Neera. I'll let the founder himself provide you with an explanation.
In India, less than 10% of people can go to a bank when they need money. And the reason for that is banks, they basically require one of two things. A good credit score, and hardly anyone's even got a credit score in India. Nowadays, even in developing countries like India, everyone's got a smartphone. Not everyone, but enough people. So there's must be about 250 to 300 million people here with a smartphone now. And the Chinese companies, they're just offering phones much cheaper here. And data here is dirt cheap. Like, there is nothing in the US or UK or Europe that's going to compare the tariffs out here. And everyone then is creating data about themselves through their activity on their phone, right? So what we can do is we can say, okay, well, we've now got data on people. We can combine these sorts of alternative data types with traditional data types. So with some financial transactions or payments, etc. And we can put it together in a new model. With that model, we can score people.
Through this service, women who typically have difficulties accessing capital get to have increased financial services and more economic power. Also, according to the UN, when women earn an income, they reinvest 90% of it into their family and their communities. Along with the huge growth in people with smartphones, a growing economy, and rising wages, Neera's success depends on another key innovation in India that will become a common theme in this video: the National Identification Card. Using biometric data, such as fingerprints and irises, the National Identification Card assigns a unique identification code to individuals in India, giving them unprecedented economic opportunities in a myriad of fields and enabling companies like Neera to feasibly operate in this developing nation. Despite some valid criticisms about its lack of robustness and violation of privacy, this scheme has helped empower women in several ways. In a study of 633 households in Rajasthan, where the law mandated that only the female head of a family could receive welfare payments, the Center for Global Development observed the percentage of women who opened bank accounts increased by 66%. Even with these advancements, our visit to NASSCOM made one glaring point apparent. All the startups we saw were created by and run by men. Can you elaborate more on why you think women tend to be in lower percentages in terms of tech entrepreneurship?
So firstly, we see a lot of women entrepreneurs, but you will see a lot of them in the food business, you will see a lot of them in the jewelry business, you will see a lot of them in small businesses that they run from home. Clothing and things like that. But they don't like to expand. They like to keep it small, like to keep it controlled. And that's basically goes back to the fundamental thing of risk-taking ability. And I think that's a global thing, and not just in India in terms of the whole risk-taking ability of women and how much they want to grow their business.
Got it. Thank you. To address this point, we spoke with Professor Vasanthi Srinivasan at the Indian Institute of Management in Bangalore, which is also sometimes considered the Wharton of India. She opened her eyes to the unconscious biases against women in the workplace.
How do women acquire career identity? Does the society enable the identity or does it disable the identity? How do organizational policies unconsciously keep women out?
Take one major consulting company as an example.
This large multinational has been hiring for women for 30 years from the campuses. And yet they don't have a single woman leader in their top 2 levels. The organization had a policy to assess potential. One of the criteria for that is you should have a consistent outstanding rating for 4 years. So let's assume that in 2015 you got an outstanding, 2016 you got outstanding, 2017 you got excellent, in 2018 if you got outstanding you were not counted.
Yeah.
You had to get 2018, 19, 20 outstanding for you to be considered. And this policy just threw women out because between 28 years of age and 35 years of age, which is the biological age for women to have children, most women would have 1 year where they don't have an outstanding.
These unconscious biases in the workplace often hinder corporate advancement for women, even as they gain increasing economic opportunities. However, speaking to female university students, I gathered a different sentiment.
I'm Aarti Kejriwal and I'm in my 3rd year and I'm doing my majors in biology. So, in the Indian Institute of Science, Research and Education.
Do you find that within the education system in India, there are barriers for women, and how have you and others been able to overcome it?
So, I think in the past few years, we don't see that because there are lots of women in all the fields in India. It was a problem, I think, 10-20 years ago, but I don't think we face a problem now, and women are everywhere here, like in all the fields.
In my journey throughout India, I had the unique opportunity to gain knowledge from a diverse set of perspectives, ranging from a startup founder to a business professor to a college student. To return to my original research question, what are businesses and governments doing to empower Indian women, and what obstacles still stand in their way? Businesses that make obtaining credit scores easier, and government programs like the National Identification Card are both making it possible for women to gain access to financial services, and thus they are economically empowering them. However, unconscious biases in the workplace and cultural norms that expect women to stay at home still prove to be major obstacles. I'd like to leave you on a positive note with another part of my interview with Aarti Keshravan that demonstrates a sense of optimism for India's future.
The thing about women just being at home, taking care of the kids, and it has all changed. Like, women, I think, in earlier days did not realize that they have their own potential to go out and seek the world and do different things, and now they started doing it, and I think every woman empowers the other one, and that is how we are all growing.